Hello students, I hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about finding peer-reviewed literature. So, you might be in my biology class or my botany class or my sustainability class, and I'm just going to run through this as an explanation of how to find literature, although these might not be your learning outcomes, okay? So don't be alarmed. So here in biology class, right, maybe you have a general idea of what you want to find out more about, but you don't know specifically, and that's a great place to be because once you look at the literature, it will give you ideas and you'll gain knowledge and you'll have more questions, just as we discussed when we were talking about the scientific process. So let's just pick up one of these learning outcomes, right? So let's try interpret patterns of inheritance, okay? So I'm suggesting that you just pick up the learning outcome and then come over here. I keep Google Scholar on my toolbar as a bookmark. You can Google for Google Scholar to find it and then keep it handy. Now, if you're logged into your university portal, you're like in the classroom, then Google Scholar will tell you what articles are in your school library and also what articles are available out in the internet. So I just copied the learning outcome, the exact language of the learning outcome, into Google Scholar, okay? And so right away, I realized that I need to tell Google Scholar that we're talking about biology, right? Just to make sure that we don't have those words in a document that doesn't appear in that same meaning. And then the other thing we might want to do is limit the date range of these articles. Now, if you're choosing like an evolution topic, I would not recommend limiting the time range because it's not every day that we find new fossils, and so it's good to find old literature. Also, it's good to find the first article if you can about a particular topic, and that's called the seminal article, and that will have a date, depending on the topic, like sometime in the past, maybe it's really recent. For example, if it was about COVID, right, then all the articles in 2020 are seminal articles about a brand new topic. So, all right, so here we are. Now, take a look on the right page. We can see that there are these references on the side that direct us to articles that have full text available. I definitely want you to cite only articles that have full text. If you're conducting research and beyond the classroom environment, and you limited your research to articles of full text, that would be a biased sample. But in the case of our paper for our classes, then in this case, I just urge you to go the path of least resistance. You only need 5 articles, so just find 5 that you can actually read. Don't make it harder for yourself. And so let's take a look. I'm going to press Control Enter. I have a PC, and this is going to open the article in a new tab, which is very helpful because you can just kind of click through and select a bunch of articles and then look at them later. So I'm just going to click through and I'm going to select all the articles on the first page, the first 5. Okay? And then we can take a look at these articles. So the first, from 2002, that's not really a great date. It's kind of the middle of the road, but we can still see what it says. And so the best way to find out what it says is to read the abstract. Okay. And we start to read the abstract and think about if this is something of interest to us, if this relates to what we had in our mind. We can just go on to the next one, take a look, read a couple of abstracts, okay? and start to see if there are any ties that bind these articles together, because our next step after the citations and annotated bibliography is to write an outline. So, right, you don't want, with so few references required, you do not want to be in a situation where you have these far-reaching articles and you have to make huge leaps to tie them together, because the paper only needs to be 2 pages long. And so, you know, the shorter the better as far as I'm concerned. I'm giving you all my feedback and all my time and effort. And I can't also read a 10-page paper from 100 students. So take my, it's about the process, right? I keep saying it's about the process. I'm going to communicate with you along the way, and we're going to learn how to do research. And, you know, I'll even project your grade at the first draft so that you don't have to like worry about making the art paper perfect, because it's about the process, right? Okay, so here we've got another article. This is one about epigenetics, right? And over here we had an article that was about gene-gene interactions or epistasis, and maybe you want to, you know, define those terms as principles of heredity biology. Okay, here's a chapter from a book, and you could cite a chapter from a book. So there's another option. Here's another paper. This one's about island plants, right? So maybe the examples you present in your body paragraphs are about examples from the same or different landscapes. So hopefully you can see that, you know, this is about just shopping around for some articles. Now let's go over to one of my other classes and take a look at the learning outcomes. Here we go. All right, so now we're in body and we're taking a look, right? And as you scroll through here, you see that all the learning outcomes are organized based on module, right? And of course, we haven't gotten to module 5 or module 4, but maybe you already know what you're interested in. Like, for example, this is a really common one, right? Very common. Even though by the time we talk about that, you will already be, you know, well on your way. You'll be in outline to first draft stage. But this is student-directed learning. You can seek that knowledge. And when we're talking about plants, you can talk about pollinators and vice versa. So, you know, we gain that knowledge in a connective way. It's not just a linear dialogue about biology. So let's pick this one up, just since this one's so popular. I'm going to go back over to Google Scholar. And I'm going to put this right in here. Okay. And so we are off again, right? We have literally 17,000 results, and you only need 5 papers. So now let's pretend like we want to narrow it down from the learning outcome, right? So maybe we want to talk about coevolution between plants and pollinators, and we're like really interested in Hawaii. Okay. So we've made some slight modifications to the search terms, but we still have 3,830 results. And what I want you to think about is when you're writing the annotated bibliography, right? Those are the body paragraphs that contain all the science, right? That's when you're summarizing the literature. So I'm asking you to write the hardest part of the paper at the beginning, so that, you know, you don't get consumed by the process and you understand that decoding the science is a skill. Writing the paper is a different skill. So here we go. There's tons of references about plant pollinator interactions in Hawaii. So hopefully I've inspired you in less than 10 minutes to not be afraid to look for peer-reviewed literature. It can't be about.com. It cannot be just websites for your paper. It has to be quality peer-reviewed literature. Peer-reviewed literature means that before publication, the article has been read and reviewed by other researchers who have published on similar topics, so they have, skilled information in their brains about the topic. And so a team of reviewers, it's a blind review. The author doesn't know who it is, and the reviewers don't know who the author is. And through this process of back and forth, eventually papers get published, and you can trust that reliability because a team of equally skilled authors vetted the article before it landed in your lap. And that's why we hold peer-reviewed literature to the highest esteem in, I'm not going to say in science, because there's peer-reviewed literature in every single discipline. Let's say in all contexts, all academic context where, reliability and the scientific process are central to the inquiry. All right, let me know if you have any questions.